Yes, welcome our viewers. This is your usual host, Lakisa Ivan, the host of one of the most interesting show you can ever follow as much as you're in this country. That is none other than Let's Table It. We are tabling issues that are very critical in aspects of governance and other areas that entail along areas to do with our society. Today's demand, today actually we are having one of the, I call her the Miss Lango. That's none other than our sister from Lango, Miss Akelo Elizabeth Priscilla, an environmental specialist, has ever been on many platforms discussing environment, recently represented Uganda in Togo in a conversation about peace and security in regard to climate. So today we are going to be diving into a conversation about the climate pattern in Uganda. Are we prepared? Actually, Elizabeth, allow me welcome you in the show officially and tell us how was the experience in Togo and how does the conversation around environment sharpen your dreams?
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Ivan. Yes, I have already been introduced. I am Akelo Elizabeth Priscilla, a recent graduate from the School of Law, Makerere University, and I have been active on quite a number of platforms. I am passionate about environment, peace, and security. As he already said, yes, I was in Togo on a peace and security engagement. However, my arguments were in line with climate, peace, and security, where I presented issues around food security and insecurity that could actually be a threat to peace and security in many ways. Because if you were to look at food security, whenever a state, or let me zero it down to a community, does not have food. For Uganda's case, we know how passionate we are about our animals. And we've known for quite a number of times that lack of pasture for these animals has caused a number of conflicts within the tribes and among the region. I'm from Lira, and up to today, we still have an issue of Dokalami. I believe someone from the north knows about it, where we had issues around our cattle. Our cattle was raided, and people lost lives, people lost body parts. So all that centers around lack of food. So I looked at it in this way. If a particular community does not have food, they are forced to migrate. And which people are migrating? We have the children, we have the youth, and these are actually the most vulnerable people within a country. And as they are migrating, along the way, they get to meet so many people, some of whom are actually people with not good intentions at all. So they tell them, we trade your belly for the gun. Trade your belly, I give you the food, and you get the gun. And lo and behold, they have no option but to rather give in because of lack of food. And as they do that, they eventually destabilize the community and a nation at large. And it can be as bad as a region. So when we talk about climate, it is not necessarily about the green that you see around the trees. It zeroes down to most of the core issues that we face. We are all contributors to the climate change directly and indirectly.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, that pushes us to the next level of conversation. I have always taken keen look at the climatic pattern of Uganda as a country. We've seen floodings from eastern part of the countries. We've seen a series of areas beginning to lose seasons, like for example in West Nile. And we've also seen the semi-arid situations of the Karamoja region. And even in the city, we've seen a series of floodings happening within the city.
Yes.
What do you think could have been some of the challenges that are driving these climatic issues within the country?
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. First of all, as a country, we should give credit where credit is due. We've taken a very tremendous step towards having the Climate Act. And we see that in this act, it gives us a provision of mitigation and adaptation. But before you address a problem, you have to understand which problem am I addressing. So we have floods, yes. We have the semi-arid issues. We also have landslides in Bududa region, to mention but a few, some of the crises we have had in line with climate. But the first step we need to do is understand, are we trying to take measures that adapt or mitigate? So the moment we get to have a clear distinction between the two, I believe whatever strategies and mechanisms we have to curb the extent to which this crisis affects the people, it will be clearly laid out. But of course, not excluding participation from the people. Because we may sit in a boardroom with SC and make decisions that are actually very, very amazing. But reaching down there, they don't understand what is going on. Recently, I heard of the steps that government took towards trying to, Karamoja region is a bit porous. And we see that during the day, actually, when you're there, most of the motorcycles are from Kenya. And that tells you how it is easy for the people in Kenya to get in and also get out, and vice versa for the Ugandans as well. So there were steps being taken around that, and they put some items to demarcate the pieces of land there. But we see that along the way, these people to whom this help was being given to eventually removed the iron from it. To what? To mark their animals. So that tells you, before we come up with solutions, we have to understand, is this really something that the people feel is good for them? An example is a child. You tell a child not to touch fire, but you have a goodwill and you know that it is bad for the child. But you should tell the child, and they know that I am not stopping you from touching the fire because I don't want you to, but because you will get burnt. So these issues should be brought home, because someone may see that, yes, we have faced landslides for quite a while, but they are not understanding the repercussions. And even if you tell them to relocate, there are some attachments they have to this place. I mean, my grandmother was buried here. I am a second generation in this home. What do you mean I should vacate this place? I see no problem with having a landslide for a week and the situation dries up. So you are reasoning from an angle where both of you are on loggerheads. These people don't want to relocate to safety, yet you see that their lives are at threat, but they have an attachment to that place where they are, which is rightly so. So I feel the best you could do is have a proper harmonization mechanism to harmonize the two. Present their argument, which is right. They have an attachment to that. Present your argument as well, that your life is at risk. And let us get a leveled ground to address some of these challenges. The recent floods that are happening in Kampala are as a result of development that is being done. We all know that, yes, development is good. But the question we need to ask ourselves is, at what cost are we causing that development? Yes, we need, URA needs the taxes. We need the donors to come in. But at what cost in the long run? Is this sustainable? Thank you.
Yeah. Viewers out there, thank you for keeping tuned to Faraja Digital TV. This is none other than Let's Table It, as we're tabling the matters at hand. And I'm having one of the most amazing guests that I told you I always refer to her as the Miss of Lango region. As a sub-region, I think she represents the region perfectly good and understands it from bottom to top. Let's get back to the conversation. You brought in a very important aspect of community involvement and the mindset issues. Yeah, you're right. Many times we've seen people objecting to evictions when it comes to matters of security regarding the climatic incidents that have entails along the country. Now, can you try to tell us, do you think the citizens are not ready to adapt, or what do you think could have been causing some of these mindset issues? Do you think maybe there is a gap in the level of awareness, or I first bring this to light I would love to understand it deeper.
Oh, okay, thank you. I don't really think there is a gap between the people, but we need to know the people we are dealing with and we appreciate them at their levels. What do I mean? We shall have the intellectuals. We shall have those who have informal knowledge about climate related issues. And we shall have those who actually have no idea about what is going on. So the moment we have all these kinds of people in our hands, we have to appreciate and respect them at their different levels. So that when we are zeroing down some of the things that we believe are for their benefit, they do not feel that this message is only for the land. They do not feel that this message is only for this particular group of people. And that is why my argument has always been on cultural leaders. Cultural leaders are a core part of the people's well-being. I was in Ghana and I realized that they have actually a very strong culture setting. And the judiciary realized they could not do away with these people. So I think even when we are talking about issues to do with climate change, we cannot do away with these cultural leaders because they are actually the contact people to the people we are trying to help. If you're trying to tell the people, please vacate this place, it is not safe. I kid you not. If their cultural leader also re-echoes that message that you and I have presented to the people down there, they will actually immediately respond to that. That is why if we are designing solutions to mitigate some of these climate challenges we have, let us not ignore the cultural leaders because they actually know what is going on. They know how to politely find a safe place for these people in collaboration with us. And I recently had an engagement as well where I realized that at the coast, how they get to know about the seasons and the waves, they get to know about the fishing time, they get to know about when the tides will be strong or when they will not be strong. They say that this knowledge was passed on by their forefathers. So they actually admit that this is not something that we learned about or we went to school to get to know that this month is for this. It's indigenous knowledge, which is actually accurate. If you are to try to link it to what our weather forecasters predict. So that tells you how important having cultural leaders on board in line with issues to do with climate change is very core. And that is how our message will actually be delivered and well understood by the people.
Wow. So, in other words, you are trying to believe, or you believe, that having the cultural institution in preservation and conservation would be an effective mechanism towards addressing these vices, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, of recent, I've seen government giving in Bugoma Forest to UWA. And of course, we know the forest has been undergoing some of the pressures of deforestation and a lot of encroachment in the forest. Do you think giving some of those areas that are managed by government, like for example, we have wetlands, to the institution that tend to largely have restrictions using gunpowder, using a lot of force, do you think it will honor the essence of having the cultural leaders incorporated in this struggle?
Oh, thank you for that. If you are to try to paint a picture of what you have just said, government has handed it over to the Uganda Wildlife Authority. And government is the people, you and I.
Sure.
And we also have UWA, which is entirely doing good work towards preserving some of the beautiful animals that are actually a source of tourism to the country. So that tells you that there are two groups of people who have interest in this forest. That is the human being, you and I, and also the animals that need continuity in this forest. So I don't want to say really it is a good or bad thing, but I feel it is a form of finding a fair ground where both parties come on. But because initially it was to government alone, that means to you and I as the human. So that means whatever steps, whatever decisions we are making would only favor you and I, but forgetting that there are gorillas that actually need the forest, forgetting that there are other species that survive on this forest. So handing a portion of it or all of it to these people requires a fair ground. Saying, look here, you're not the only people in the pitch. We also have the animals that are also equally within this particular forest, and they also require the same things that you need from this forest. So I feel that yes, we shall not do away with cultural leaders, because we also know with forests come a group of people who actually stay in the forest. You get my point? And they are an organized setting. They have their leadership. They have their leaders. They are an organized community, but entirely surviving in forest. So when you're looking at that forest, let's not look at it only from the angle of you and I, but to know that there are also people who look like us, who are equally human beings like us, who reside there. So that is a triangle.
True.
There is us on this side. There are people who all their life have been living in the forest. And then there are the animals. So how do we find a fair ground for all these three, the triangle to survive in this setting? So everyone is needed for this case.
Sure, everyone is needed. Right from Elizabeth, an environmental specialist who is here with us and has it for us this evening, and we are continuously dissecting, and keep tuned. Thank you all our viewers. Yes, Elizabeth, let's come back to the context of the conversation, especially in line to the issues of the climatic crisis that we've been seeing along our dear country. Within the country, we've been seeing a lot of series of floodings and what have you. Do you think the government is playing its role well to make sure these are mitigated? If so, what are some of the interventions that you really feel are in the right direction with that actually obeys the sustainable development goals that the world agreed to?
Oh, thank you so much. I love the fact that you've linked this to the Sustainable Development Goals. And I recently just completed a short course offered by the University of Cambridge on trade law and sustainable development goals. So before we look at government, let us first mirror ourselves and look at ourselves and say, what am I doing in line with saving the environment? This bottle I brought here is not for show. It is an eco bottle by Smart Shake, and it is made in Sweden from renewable sugarcane. You can imagine. Wow. So I entered a supermarket knowing there are very many beautiful bottles there, but I opted to get something that is environmentally friendly.
Wow.
But government does not know that I, Akelo from Lao, entered a shop and opted for something that is environmentally friendly. So by the time I start critiquing government, have I taken a step? At least with this evidence, I can confidently say I have taken a step. But back to that, if you are to look at the Sustainable Development Goals, the history of the SDGs, we shall realize that these challenges that we are bringing to the surface today were already in existence before, but it was blurry. And it was not quite clear. Because let me give a beautiful example of trade. As I said, the environment is not about the green. Let me give an example of trade. Recently, the World Trade Organization has decided to realign their mode of trade and to go back to what the Marrakesh Agreement provides, which is sustainability.
Sure.
And they're realigning each and everything to do with trade in the Villas framework, which I urge everybody to go and read. The Villas framework is giving a detailed picture of where the World Trade Organization is heading in line with climate. So before, trade was about removing barriers to trade. But they've realized, yes, we are removing the barriers to trade, but at what cost? At what cost are we doing this? Is it sustainable? How long will this exist?
Sure.
So they have redesigned frameworks, for instance, in line with fisheries, to see that actually the fish there are no issues of overfishing. But even before that, there was the shrimp case between US and Mexico, where they were trading in fish. But eventually US got concerned and said, but look here, tuna fish. Look here, you're giving us tuna fish, but how do you catch the tuna fish that you are bringing to US? That is in the 1990s. And Mexico confidently said, I am bringing to you the tuna fish. How I get to the tuna fish should not be your concern. And actually, it was ruled in Mexico's favor that it is true. If they are bringing you the tuna fish, why are you getting concerned that it's a threat to the dolphins? US raised that argument that the method of fishing they are using to capture these tuna fish is a threat to dolphins. And this is something that was blurry then. I believe if such a case came up today, US would have actually won, because fishing is now becoming a threat to everybody and everything. So that is why I say these issues of climate, they were already existing, but the picture was not so clear. But now I appreciate the fact that everybody is realizing that it is something that you can't do away with. And it's something you must incorporate in all of your engagement.
Maybe I think people are realizing it because it is already affecting everyone.
Exactly.
So I think that could have been the cause for which everyone is realizing that there's need for us to now do something about this.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you are telling me something?
Yes. So if you're to look at why I say everybody plays a role, we appreciate the steps that governments are taking, because now they say that in anything you do, you must incorporate the sustainable development goals, whether you like it or not. Is it in line with climate action? Is it in line with all these other goals that we know, partnerships for the goals, to mention but a few? So as we align all these things, the fact is we can't do away with climate. Yes, you will say, but I am into business. How does that affect me? You literally ship everything. And we know that ships contribute greatly towards greenhouse gas emissions. Actually, it is ranking almost to being the greatest producer to greenhouse gas emission. And you are saying you don't actually, for you don't probably litter. You believe that by not littering, you're not doing anything. But you're ordering commodities that you're selling to the people, and the process to which they are delivered to you is affecting the blue economy, which is the water bodies. And we know how vital they are towards absorbing all this air that is in existence. So I feel governments should cooperate and see how to address most of these climate-related issues. For instance, we are Uganda and Kenya. Kenya has the coast. So the blue economy cannot be done away with.
Sure.
And we know because it is a very rich kind of economy. It has so much plantation underneath that actually absorbs all these gases. So there should be steps that should be taken in that line. And also us as Uganda, although we do not have the oceans, but we have water bodies that we ought to protect, that are very core to the existence of humanity and mankind.
Sure.
So partnership for the goals under the SDGs should be brought down to government. But as I said, it should also come back to you and I. What am I doing at an individual level? What integrity do I have to preserve the environment for generations to come after me? Because sustainability is all about using what is there, but having it in mind that we have to also consider the generations to come. And they should also find what we have left behind, or even better, not worse. Yes.
Well, thank you for bringing that out clearly. And I think that dives me to a conversation about appreciating what the institution of the government is doing, especially in line to conservation and preservation, because our climate pattern is basically dependent on how best you're conserving and how best you're preserving some of the mother natures that are around us. Do you think civil society organizations are making contribution towards these climatic issues that we have? If yes, then what are some of these issues that you really feel the civil society organizations are putting on desk and challenging us Ugandan to look up to?
Yes, thank you. Civil society organizations actually do quite a number of good work, of course, in line with climate and in line with other issues that affect the people. And we also realize that civil society organizations directly reach out to the people. So I believe the good work that civil society organizations are doing, they are identifying the vanguards in line with climate change. They are recognizing the people who are in the forefront fight towards saving the environment. And once you bring them up, it is morale to other people to also come up, because the civil society organizations also are bringing the knowledge down to the people at the bottom who are equally important towards addressing some of these climate related challenges. So when that knowledge is brought down, there are those who actually go ahead to implement it. And
sure.
that is us, the youth, who are still
Sure.
very vigorous and outgoing. So we come up and say, okay, these are some of the ideas we could do. In no time, they tell you a youth has developed probably a climate smart farming methods. Youth have developed climate smart items to use. And these are people who literally get this knowledge and put it into practice. And the civil society organizations reaching to them directly can follow up. Because you see, even in Christianity, they say if you win a soul into church, you must continuously follow up so that you don't lose the person. Because it will not make sense at all. So the same applies to these civil society organizations. They hold your hand continuously until you reach a point where you can actually stand and bring others on board. So they are doing tremendous work in line with issues to do with climate change. Yes.
Yeah. Now I also think if they're doing work, I agree. You as Elizabeth, do you have have you ever thought of an idea that could possibly address some of the climatic challenges that we have? Yes. If yes, then what are some of those nitty-gritties that you think, if we put into consideration, if we put resources into, can translate into bringing changes here and there in our climatic?
Thank you so much for that question. And I am going to answer that with so much joy and gladness. During my tenure as a law student at Makerere University, I was able to represent the University School of Law, the Environmental Law Clinic, in a hackathon competition organized by University of Miami.
Wow.
And Elizabeth Hobbs Law School. And I emerged top 3 internationally. We emerged as a university. We emerged top 3 internationally. And it is no mean feat, modesty aside on that. And getting to that competition, we had to write project proposals. And it dawned on me that these institutions of learning that we are in were not designed having it in mind that the number of people who will actually be yearning to learn will be this big, because they are designed at a time when the number of people going to schools were very few. And by then they were mostly the males, the girls would be married off, and all other things would happen around going to school. But we see that now institutions of learning actually are finding it hard to accommodate the number of students they receive every year and the number of students they release to the communities every year. And that is why it dawned on me and said, look here, with these numbers come issues. What are the issues? There's a heat crisis within the classrooms. School of Law, I appreciate the School of Law for coming up with a new building. But way before that, we had a building, and the number of students in there were actually quite big, and there would be so much heat. So I realized that in my project proposal, we must do green roofing. We should start with green roofing in institutions of learning. Because yes, the populations are big, but we are not going to break down this infrastructure to accommodate the people. No.
True.
We have to find an adaptation mechanism, which is green roofs. Instead of having fans and all these other cooling systems, the windows, yes, they do, but they are, compared to the numbers, they really don't do much. We can actually start by encouraging the students to engage in green roofing activities, so that we make the institutions of learning green And this can be natural cooling systems within these classrooms where we learn from. And of course, this requires bringing everybody on board, including the architects that said that. They have to come in on board and know that these days, architecture is not about designing rooms that are wide to bring in light, but it is about designing a building that accommodates a provision for green roofing. So you have to bring in the architect, you have to bring in the student from the environmental science department, you have to bring in the law student, you have to bring in everybody. And even at the implementation level, you have to bring in national water and say, look here, the institutions have to maintain these plants. But so there should be a subsidization mechanism on the water that is supplied to this. We also have to bring in probably Ministry of Lands. We have to bring in also KCCA and say people who are taking these positive steps towards protecting the environment, there should be a certain reduction of the tax imposed on them, because what they are doing is a sustainability solution. So my project proposal was in line with green roofs, and it is something that I believe can work, because we shall also bring in, for instance, Rotary. We've known for a while Rotary is doing so much work, good work to see in health, in so many fields. And of course, in climate, they also have tree planting sessions. We could bring in some Rotary to come in and say, look here, we can engage in tree planting, which event we plant trees that can be used as green roofs to curb the urban heat crisis that is actually, it's going out of shape, and a solution needs to be done. Yes.
Of course. Personally, I come from West Nile, one of the hottest zone. I'm in Pakwach, closer to the valley.
Yes.
That's the Rift Valley. So that's closer to the Rift Valley, and you find heat is generating all across. So I think adopting a green roofing could also be one of the core items that would really help areas like Pakwach. Then I wanted also to understand deeper, how would green roofing help areas like Karamoja, which is a bit complex to put in a plant. How do you think it can as well be incorporated in just a region?
So in a region like Karamoja, what we can do, of course, Karamoja is not an island. Yes. They have neighboring districts around them. So they can cooperate with these neighboring districts. Of course, try and error. We can start by having a try and error situation. These neighboring districts can plant these plants that can be used as green roofs. And we can go ahead and try to see whether that works in Karamoja. In some of the few infrastructure that is there, we can try out sampling on those houses that are there. And if we see that it does not work, we have to bring in, of course, irrigation has to come in. We have to have a constant water supply for these plants that we're going to use as green roofs. So that means that now we are still having the same solution, but now from another angle. Probably they may not have water. So that's where we have to call on other entities like national water, government to come in and incorporate irrigation systems or underground water systems that can constantly supply water to these plants, so that cooling system is continuous, and it's a cycle that happens occasionally. Yes.
Actually, you're trying to tell me that for an effective environmental intervention, there should be an element of cooperation between the public aspect, I mean the government institution, together with the civil society organization to bring out the best result. Is that what you're trying to mean?
Yes. We cannot, as the saying goes, no man is an island. Each one of us, even the Bible says, 2 heads are better than one. But in this case, you have multiple heads. Now, if 2 heads are better than one, now that you have multiple heads, I mean, we are unstoppable. If we have government on board, if we have civil society organizations on board, if we have institutions of learning on board, if we have cultural leaders on board, if we have you and I on board, we are unstoppable, and we can actually get a solution this minute.
Wow.
Yes.
Again, I also wanted to understand, are there things you would recommend to institutions, I mean like parliament, to elevate the fight against the climatic crisis that we're experiencing in the country, are there things you would recommend?
Yes. First of all, I want to, of course, appreciate the good work that Parliament is doing. We have the Environment Parliament that usually happens annually. And that is already a positive step towards getting this solution. Because we know I attended the Environment Parliament last year and we were able to launch the manifesto, which was in line with green jobs. And these are, when we launched such manifestos, of course, we have to follow up. It does not end there. When I attended that Environment Parliament last year, it did not end there. I have to continuously follow up and engage with the people I met there. So I want to first give credit to Parliament for what it's doing. Having the Environment Parliament is already a groundbreaking step that is being taken. And of course, going forward, the investors who come into the country, and we see that the kind of investment they do, there should be a very, I don't want to say strict, but there should be a scrutinizing mechanism that sees, that monitors and ensures that, yes, you are investing in Uganda, but let it be a circular economy. If your investment brings out waste, see how to take it back and get a solution to that. I have given an example of this, but this is from sugarcane. And this is entirely, it's by Milkshake, a company in Sweden. And this is entirely a circular economy. There is zero wastage. So even when Parliament is opening doors for investment opportunities, but there should be a scrutinizing mechanism that ensures that it is the investment is now aimed at having a circular economy, where, yes, I am producing this commodity within Uganda, but the waste from producing this commodity can be reused to create a commodity that is actually sustainable. And also subsidizing. I feel there should be subsidization of environmentally friendly goods. The goods that, yes, there are countries that have actually gone ahead and done so much work. I'm giving an example of Sweden. They've done so much work to see that they produce such commodities that are environmentally friendly. But to the countries that receive these commodities, I feel there should be a subsidization on their pricing, on the taxes, so that the people are actually able to afford and access these commodities. They don't just remain on the surface, where it is only a selected few who can afford it, because this issue is for everybody. If, yes, a selected few can afford it, it does not mean that I will not face the repercussions. And we know, you and I both know, that in this whole issue around climate change and the problems that we are facing, we know that the countries that actually contribute less to these problems are actually getting the most challenges. They are facing the repercussions the most. Least developed countries, small island states, to mention but a few. So that is my recommendation I would give.
Now, I think you've really dissected this exhaustively well. And I want you to tell us, do you think as a country in line to carving up the environmental crisis, are you convinced that we are doing something, or what is your take? What is your status of the country if you're to rate the efforts being made?
If I am to rate, I should say our eyes have been opened. Last year, I attended the first national private sector engagement organized by Ministry of Finance on climate financing. And we know that in Ministry of Finance, we now have a climate unit. So I should say the eyes of government is actually now open to realities that are happening. And this engagement, we're looking at how to finance climate-related solutions. And of late, we know that the hot cake is carbon markets.
True.
So Ministry of Finance and other government entities are already coming up to see how to bring this into reality, to see how Uganda can play a part in this engagement. We also know of COP, where we're able to take vibrant youth who went and attended and made very tremendous submissions. So I should say that, yes, our eyes have been open to the realities, and we are taking steps. But even as we take these steps, I'll go back to my previous point. Let us properly understand what we are doing. Are we adapting, or are we mitigating? Do we have the capacity to adapt, or our capacity is limited to mitigating? So the moment we clearly understand the path we are taking, which is expressly provided in the laws, the moment we understand that, yes, we've appreciated that this is a reality that is with us now, but you have to get a solution for it. We have to adapt.
Sure.
So we have to tirelessly divert our energy towards adapting most of these challenges that are affecting us. Yes.
Yeah, actually, are we adapting or we are mitigating? That's it for you from Elizabeth and our viewers. Thank you for keeping tuned to Let's Table It, as we continuously table it with very many vibrant young people, very many vibrant leaders across the country that are putting effort to make sure things work from both private and public institutions. Let me dive back to Elizabeth, and I hear maybe your last take to the citizens of the country on especially the crisis of the climate that we are experiencing from east to west, north to south. Almost everyone in the country, not even almost everyone in the country, is already feeling the heat, feeling the flood, smelling it, or even experiencing it in one way or the other. What would be your take for the citizens out there?
Okay. Yes, Martin Luther King once said, if you cannot run, walk. If you cannot walk, crawl. But keep moving.
Sure.
So my parting shots to our viewers out there. What you have can actually do tremendous work towards curbing the climate crisis that is currently affecting us. So each one of us is gifted differently. There are those who can run, but it does not mean if I walk, I will not reach the destination. The difference is in time. The person who runs will reach earlier than me, but the destination remains the same. Sure. And the distance remains the same, but the abilities differ.
True.
So appreciating the abilities we have and knowing, using this, let me bring the point home. The destination for that example is curbing the climate crisis.
Sure.
He or she who runs will reach that destination before. And we've known countries that have already run. There are countries also that can walk, but the destination will remain the same. Walk to your destination.
Yeah.
And there are countries that will crawl to the destination. But do not be disappointed. Do not feel derailed by the country that ran and reached the finish line. Because I mean, even in races, when they are running, the person who reaches the finish line first, these others don't stop. You must cross, even if he has already opened he has taken off the finish line mark. These others must reach. You don't just stop and branch off and go back to your supporters and say, I've come back home, I couldn't make it. No, but the goal is to reach the finish so that we know that Ivan was here. But if you branch off along the way, we shall never know that Ivan actually was running around this play field. So take your step, crawl to that finish line, crawl to that climate solution. Those who have run and have reached, kudos, we appreciate you, and we shall also get there. We may crawl, we may walk, but at the end of the day, we must reach, so that in years to come, they will know you and I were once there, to see that we left the environment, we left the world way better for the generations to come.
Wow. Thank you, Elizabeth. You may run, you may walk, you may crawl, but the major destination must be reached. That's from Elizabeth, the Miss of Lange sub-region, and we're really very proud for all of you that kept tuned into Faraja Digital TV. We will always bring you the best out within the country, and together with you, we'll table the issues that are affecting us. Thank you all. Keep tuned to our channel and keep tuned to the programs. Thank you.